So as I thought about it, I think there'll be some people who just want to be able to copy what I did. If that's the case for yourself, then just use the key moments, the chapter headings down in the description, skip ahead. That's if you're not interested in understanding what's going on, which is fine. I think we all need to look at music theory when it's right for us, which is generally when it's useful. So, on the other hand, in order to understand, I need to do a little bit of background stuff, I think. A brief overview of harmonising the major scale to get these, what we call diatonic chords, chords that come from the major scale, chords that only use the notes of the major scale. We've got 3 major, 3 minor, well, we've got 4 minor, but anyway. And an understanding of how a lot of chords are built upon thirds and what thirds are. So let's get to the chase and cover that overview of theory right now. So, harmonised major scale, brief overview. We take a major scale. This is the E major scale. We're going to build chords upon each of the notes of that scale. We take the first note, and what we do is we go up 2 each time. We take a note, miss a note, take a note, miss a note, take a note. So that's 3 notes that we've taken. Play those 3 notes at the same time, and we have a chord, and we do that upon each note of the scale. Second note, build the chord notes, that's the chord. Next note, and in that way, from the notes of the major scale, and just to correct myself, the notes of any scale, but we're doing the major scale at the moment and it is the most popular. From the notes of the major scale, we can build a group of chords So from the note scale, we build a group of chords using only notes of that scale. That's takeaway number 1. Takeaway number 2, which is maybe not immediately obvious, is that there were only ever 2 intervals in all of that. What do I mean by that? Well, the distance, the musical distance is called an interval. The musical distance between the first note and the third note of the major scale is a major third. 2 tones. The musical distance between the third and the fifth is a minor third, which is a tone and a half. And every one of those chords, in fact, not only every major chord and every minor chord and the diminished chord and the major 7th chord and also the minor 7th chord and also the diminished chord, they're all built upon thirds. The distances between the notes are either 3 frets or 4 frets on a guitar. Either tone and a half, minor third, 2 tones, major third. The 7 notes in the scale, because the 8th note is the first one. So the 7 chords, and of those 7 chords, 3 of them are major and 3 of them are minor. You want to know that the 1, 4 and 5 are major, and the 6, 2, 3 are minor. So major thirds and minor thirds build up a huge amount of the chords, possibly most of the chords that we use. So a major third, pick any note on the 6th string or the 5th string or the 4th string, and if you go up a string, ups that way and that way, and down a fret, that's a major third. 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 Go down 2 frets. That's a minor third. That's a minor third. That's a minor third. This bird here, that's the 12th fret of my guitar. So if I press this string down, it's the same note as open. And my top 2 strings, E and B, are a power chord. Everything I'm doing during this video is wrapped in an E power chord, in that I've got E and the 5th note of E, as in the 5th note from the E major scale, everything's wrapped in that E5. So here's what I do. I'm playing one note with my little finger, then on the next string and a fret down, I've got my ring finger, a fret down from that, so most of the time you can't hear it until I take this ring finger off. So on the same string, these two strings, their fingers, Robin, I might have had a beer. These 2 fingers are on the same string, and then this little chappy here, that's on my 3rd string. So that's 6 open, 5 on my pinky, 4 on this or on this, and then my 2 top strings. So these are the chords I played. This is major, these 2. Then with these 2, take this one off, these 2, it's minor. So what I did was I'm just going to play the 5th, 4th and 3rd strings. A major, A minor. I then drop that A minor. Now what's that? Well, it's going to be an A flat minor. The thing is, it's wrapped in an E. And if we think of the intervals, like that's my 12th fret, so that might as well be a finger. From there to there is a major third, and there to there is a minor third, and there to there is a major third. And what chord goes major third, then minor third, then major third? Well, it's a major 7. So this is, in fact, with all the strings, it's an E major 7. So some people might know that E major 7. 7th fret, 8th fret, 9th fret. But if I take the E away and go, what chord am I playing here? Well, that's a minor. 1, flat 3, 5. that's the chord, which is the 1, 2, 3 in the key of E. If you take the 3 chord and put an E in the bass, you've got E major 7. So, speed it up, Robin. I played A major over E, then A minor over E5 technically, E major 7, that's a G over E5, and I repeated those 4 chords several times as like part A if you like, and then I went for an F sharp minor, F major, E major. Ooh, and also went up to a B major. So well done if you're still here. I don't want to witter on much longer. However, I do want to let you know the logic of how I came to play those chords in that order. So, an A, that's the 4 in the key of E. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I encourage you to ditch the bar chords and do more of that sort of thing. Anyway, A's the 4. I know from songwriting that you can always take the 4 and turn it from major to minor, and that gives a particular effect. So, in the key of E. To the chord of A. And then something very sad happens, and that's where we're hitting the A minor. Going back to the A. So, A major to A minor. Then, to my mind, we're in the key of E. So I then got the cheeky E major 7 in, which is just keeping my fingers exactly the same, because I was going from like just these 3 notes being A minor to A flat minor, or from A minor to G sharp minor. I mean, it's just a semitone step for all of them, so I know that's going to work. Now, going from an E major 7 to a G, can't tell you theory-wise why that might work. It's an E major 7. And I'm confident that the reason in this context it works is because you'd be surprised how many chords you can push down on the 5th, 4th and 3rd string. And if you've got your 6th string, your top string and your 2nd string open, like everything's wrapped in an E5, the continuity of the E5 holds everything sufficiently together for people to be able to relate to it. That's how I'd explain the G. From the G, I go down, so you may or may not have noticed that I'm just going down in semitones, because that's chromatic, it appeals to me. So then when I'm playing a G, I'm thinking, oh, well, this is the takeaway for you. That's a major, so any major can be a 1, a 4 or a 5. Any minor can be a 2 or 3 or a 6. As in, it's fine to modulate and change key, and songs do and music does. So if I'm playing a G, oh, well, I could go an F sharp minor and then it sounds like a 4 to a 3. Hope that makes sense, because 3 and a 4 are semitone away from each other, and the 4's major and the 3's minor. So that's the G to the F sharp. Then I went F major wrapped in E to E major wrapped in E, and F. E Phrygian dominant is what I would, in my head, that's where it came from. Dipped into E harmonic. So there you go. Dipped into E Phrygian dominant with the E and the F major. I hope that's all been useful. I actually got inspired to move towards almost a bit of songwriting, but this is the sort of thing I do. So I'm going to share that with you. Here's a recording of me using just those chords that I've shown you. And just the process of doing this video for you inspired me a bit. So, yeah, that's this.